Welcome to the TWSN YouTube channel. Before we start talking about Teddy Bridgewater, the Broncos, and the Saints, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to all TWSN social media, our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It has been so much content coming with the NFL. The World Series is wrapping up. The NBA season is just getting started. NHL season, college football about to hit the stretch run into the college football playoff coming up soon. Also, subscribe to our TWSN Patreon for all our best bets. I've been hitting on almost 60% of my college football picks. The NFL team's been hot. The NBA team's been hot so far this year. So what are you waiting for? Hop on the TWSN Patreon, subscribe, and make some money for yourself. Now let's talk about Teddy Bridgewater and possibly the New Orleans Saints. So trade deadline coming up tomorrow. Today, I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. So far, what happened earlier today, the Denver Broncos made a big trade, and combine that with the news of Jameis Winston's injury, kind of did some equations, thought about some things, and came up with a solution that why are the Saints not trading for Teddy Bridgewater right now? Let's talk about the first two steps of the equation. Let's start off with Jameis Winston's injury yesterday. Obviously, Jameis has been having a bounce back season for himself. We know the 30 interception season he had with Tampa Bay back in 2019. One was the Saints backup last year, didn't really play too much. Then this year became the full-time starter, had played pretty well up to this point. Yesterday against Tampa Bay, gets injured, torn ACL. It's the report. He's going to miss probably the rest of the season. Saints need a quarterback. They had Trevor Siemian came in yesterday, had a very strong second half in a big upset over the defending champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's go to the other side of it. The Denver Broncos, coming off their 17-10 win on Sunday against the Washington football team, traded one of the best players in franchise history, Von Miller, to the Los Angeles Rams for a second and a third round pick. The Denver Broncos right now are 4-4. They're not out of playoff contention, really, especially in a pretty wild AFC where I think that 6 or 7 teams have the chance for fighting for those last 3 wild card spots. But Denver, they said, okay, we'll still trade Von Miller to a contender, get some good draft haul. So this leads me to this point. Why are the New Orleans Saints not going to call Denver and say, we'll give you a first, probably more likely a second round pick for Teddy Bridgewater? For those who aren't familiar, Teddy Bridgewater was with the New Orleans Saints organization in 2018 and 2019. In 2019, Drew Brees got hurt in week 2 against the Rams. Bridgewater filled in, had a decent second half through 17 of 30, 165, no touchdowns, no picks. In the 5 games following, they had 5 games against teams that were pretty good. They had a win at Seattle, a win at home against Dallas. They beat Tampa Bay. They won at Jacksonville. They won at Chicago. I think this was the year after the Bears were really good. But still, Teddy Bridgewater came in 5-0, 5 wins that season, 1,384 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in that stretch. Also ran for a couple of scores. He was efficient. His passer rating that year was extremely high. I think 99.1 was the overall passer rating for Bridgewater that year. He has experience in that Saints offense. He kind of understands it. And the thing for Denver is, what is Denver trying to do right now is my question. They're 4-4 right now, but they have Drew Lock. They drafted him in the second round a couple of years ago. I don't know what the Broncos think they're getting out of the season, because maybe they go 9-8 and sneak into a playoff spot. But what is that helping for their long-term future if they can get another high draft asset and trade Teddy Bridgewater, who they got from this year with their deal with the Carolina Panthers for a 6th round pick when they made that trade back in April or March, one of the spring seasons. But I don't understand why Denver wouldn't do something like this. And I think it helps the Saints. So I'll get into the Saints part of it now. The New Orleans Saints are 5-2 right now. It feels like we're only talking about the Rams and the Cardinals and the Packers and the Cowboys and all those teams in the NFC, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course, who the Saints beat yesterday at home. They were a 4.5-point dog. They won outright. The defense made huge plays. Trevor Siemian stepped up. They're 5-2. They're a half game back of Tampa Bay. Talk about how we're talking about all these great teams in the NFC. We need to start including the New Orleans Saints in that group because they were playing strong football. They're currently the 6th seed in the NFC standings because of the Rams are currently that number 5 spot because they're 6 or 1-7-1, something like that. The Saints are right there in the hunt, and they're only a half game back from their division, a division that they won last year with Drew Brees, who wasn't even playing great football. I think there's a chance that if they make a trade for Teddy Bridgewater, who's someone who knows the system, 5-0 in 2019, he can come in and leave a major impact. Last thing about Teddy Bridgewater, he's had a strong year for Denver. I think people wanted to kind of disallow because, he's Teddy Bridgewater and he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Justin Herbert. He's not even Derek Carr, who's had a fantastic year so far in that division. Quietly completing 70% of his passes, a near 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks, a passer rating of 100.6. So he's quietly having a decent season, and the Saints go aggressive, go make the move. This is a quarterback who started in a playoff game before, and especially how weak the NFC has kind of been this year. If you look outside the Saints, for that 7th wildcard spot, it's the Saints who are 3-4, the Vikings who are 3-4 right now. The Eagles are in that conversation also. The Chicago Bears who have 3 wins so far this season. So there's not too many teams chasing up from behind them. I think they're going to make the playoffs, and especially a Teddy Bridgewater trade, I think gives them a chance to compete in a postseason game. Teddy Bridgewater was a quarterback for the Vikings when they were in that playoff game with Seattle, where they lost on the Blair Walsh missed chip shot field goal in 2015. I think he gives them a chance to win games this regular season. A look ahead to the Saints schedule. They're coming off a win against Tampa Bay, of course. They have more games against Atlanta next week at home. They go to Tennessee. They go to Philadelphia. They host Buffalo, host Dallas, go to New York against the Jets, play at Tampa on a Sunday night, host Miami on a Monday night, host Carolina, and go to Atlanta. I don't think it's out of the question. This team can go 12-5, 11-6. Teddy Bridgewater gives this team a chance to win games in the regular season. And I think the postseason, I think the New Orleans Saints should trade for Teddy Bridgewater tomorrow's deadline.